I'll tell you what I learned. I learned that you don't need another number one. That was in question a little bit coming into the season. Like Sabonis is cool. He ended up being a lot better than I realized this year.
Hmm.
But it was like with Fox, it was like, man, do you need another number one with Fox for them to be a good team, for them to be a playoff team? And the answer is like, no. Like to get to do what they did this year, De'Aaron Fox can be your best player. Absolutely.
But
Now, I think moving forward, that's why I always talk about Paul George or Bradley Beal. Like, if you can get somebody that's a borderline one and a two to go along, now we're talking about championship.
isn't that what Domas says?
I don't think Zomas is a one, man. I don't think he is. Like,
Domas about to make an All NBA team.
he is.
He finished 7th in MVP voting.
He
He's
is,
an
but
all-star.
the difference for me with Domas, and we saw it a little bit. I already kind of looked at it this way, but playoffs it showed a little something. I will
That's not
admit
fair.
that.
That's not fair.
But what I'm saying is something that was all season long. He can't go get his.
Mm.
He can't go get his. Like
He
gets
can't
his.
or he doesn't.
Maybe it's he doesn't. Maybe it's he doesn't. But
there are times it felt like he
but-
can't. I ain't gonna.
But with the
disagree with
playoff
that.
showed is maybe right now he can't, because he can't go hit that 15-footer consistently. He goes to the block. Maybe he can't. He can't go. He didn't have a move to go to. Now this is something we talked about earlier in the week. He can develop those kinds of stuff. He can get better at that stuff over the summer and over the next couple of summers. But I don't know if he consistently can go get it like that right now. And that's why me personally, I can't have him as a one. He's a two, cool. Like we're good. Like it's not a knock that I look at him as a two and not a one. But coming into the season, it felt like they needed a whole nother one to go with these guys to get 3 seed in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I think we learned we don't necessarily need that.
Well, I think that's because of De'Aaron, right? And like De'Aaron is a certified one. Like Steph, the Warriors are playing in the second round of the playoffs. Like they've got solid players there. Steph is the certified one. I'd argue there are two who, despite last night, I still think it's Andrew Wiggins. I don't think Andrew Wiggins is as good as Domas or as critical to the Warriors as Domas is.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
But that's the level of one that Steph is. But it's the ascension of that star, and that's one thing that I'll tell you. One thing we all learned, whether we're willing to admit it or not, because almost everybody asked this question at some point, and that's, is De'Aaron Fox a leader? Does anyone still have that question?
No.
Does anyone still wonder if De'Aaron Fox is a leader?
The
clutch player of the year?
Yeah.
Beating Orlando on a pull-up just like Kamara predicted. Beating Chicago, dropping I'm effing nice on everybody.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions about De'Aaron Fox's leadership ability? And the other question is, what did De'Aaron do differently to show that he was a leader? Is it simply just taking over in the fourth quarter?
I think he was more assertive, just as a ball player. Obviously, the fourth quarter is what we're looking at a lot of the times, but I just thought, just in general, he was just more assertive this year. We didn't have too many of those games where he took 11 shots, and you forgot that he was out there. Like there was some times like that for sure, but when the game called for it, he was out there. Hell, is it as simple as he dunked the ball this year?
Absolutely. Not only
he was assertive this year.
Not only as simple as he dunked the ball, but he dunked the ball with aggression, ruthless aggression, and emotion. He showed more emotion this year than he had in years. I mean, he showed frustration in years past, but there were times he didn't even show that. I think we only saw the do-rag once. And I think it was a happy do-rag. It wasn't even an angry do-rag. Yeah.
After win. But like the assertiveness, And the confidence was part of the leadership because it bled into how his teammates looked at him. What did everybody always say all the time when we would ask questions about fourth quarter? Oh yeah, it's Fox.
Mm-hmm.
It's his time. So what do you do? Like there was no question. The guy that we love and some people said was the best player on the team, he would always say, "Oh, when the fourth quarter comes, I asked De'Aaron, what does he want me to do?" I'm talking about Domas
Yeah.
Sabonis.
Yeah.
I asked De'Aaron, "What do you want me to do? You want to screen? Where do you want the ball? Because I'm gonna get out the way and do what it is you tell me to do." Like that's they all knew. They all knew, and he demanded that type of energy based on his confidence and the aura that he had
Mm-hmm.
this year. So yeah, I'm with you. We learned that he is a leader, and I just think it was his assertiveness from day one. He was just assertive. He looked way more assertive. Even that Orlando game, that was probably 15 games in. I think maybe a little less than that. And I mean, we were remember the shot, but I mean, he was demanding the ball all throughout that fourth quarter, demanding the ball. We didn't see that too often.
Kings were
7-8, maybe
3-5.
they were 3-5. It was
When
the eighth game
De'Aaron,
of the season.
yeah, when De'Aaron hit
Wow,
that shot, they were 3-5. Fox finished with 37
37.
points.
Yeah.
Yeah, 37 points. 7 of 7 from the free throw line. That made 3. His second made 3 of the game. He was 2 of 7 in that one. Conversely, Domas, 10 of 14, 11 rebounds, 25 points for Domas in that one.
Fox was dominant in that fourth quarter. Dominant. He hit the game tying shot. Nice little pull up off the glass to send it into overtime. He was a problem in that fourth quarter and overtime.
Problem that whole second half, like that third quarter was really where everything shifted for them. What a great game that was. There's actual moments, unlike years past, when you're missing Kings basketball, you can go to League Pass and pull up a game from this year, watch it and enjoy it. You can pull up the Brooklyn game or the Orlando game or the Chicago game. Like there's a handful of games.
I would say they got about 10 games.
Sure.
10 games off the top of my head.
And
you got
still,
the 3 that you named, the Utah game at home, the Kevin Huerter joint.
Yeah.
Watch that one. We didn't even talk about the Clippers game.
Right. Yeah, the 176-175 game. Yeah, there's a lot to watch.
Cleveland on the road. Cleveland at home was good
that
too.
Incredible. What was it? 18-0, 16-0? 19-0
run. Finished that game. That was crazy.
That's wild.
I thought the Knicks game was really cool on TNT at home. I mean, Fox took over in that game too. It was a problem. There's about a good you could do a top 10 games of the season.
I feel like you and my inability to let something go. You know what still pisses me off?
San Antonio game?
The Terrence Davis technical.
Oh, jeez.
After all we saw this year, the Terrence Davis technical in game 1 that halted. We could have seen the beam. Night number 1 versus Portland.
Yeah.
But Terrence looked at Dame Lillard the wrong way.
Changed everything.
And got called for a technical. And the amount of times that we saw the exact same thing.
Yeah.
The amount of times we saw it just from number 23 in San Francisco. Just, like, wait a minute. Like, that's not a foul. That's not a technical foul.
Yeah.
We would have seen the beam on night number 1. That place was on fire for that dunk. And the refs immediately turned the volume off. Hit the mute button. Shut it down.
Yeah. That was a bad one.
Had to wait to see the beam because of
the place was lit that day too. That was
gotta let it go.
De'Aaron had a big fourth quarter in that game too. But I remember specifically he scored. I want to say he scored like 11 in the fourth quarter, but he had like 3 or 4 turnovers. I remember because I wasn't in.
He had 8 turnovers in that game.
He had 8 in the whole game. That's crazy. And I was listening to you and James, and people were like, "Oh, Fox at it again, just careless turnovers. And I was like, damn, that kind of harsh on the dude. Because I think he had like 4 turnovers in the fourth quarter.
Mm. Yeah, I remember that. I recall that.
Mm.
Then they went on to lose to the Clippers. The Clippers, I think they missed 4 million free throws, if I remember correctly. They were 15 of 26 at the foul line again. Looking back at Game 7, you can go through the season and find games. Oh, rebounding was a big problem there. Missed free throws, problem there. Shooting, it's a problem there. Like, you can find the problems. Nothing that happened in Game 7 or really in the series in general was new, which is what I think why Mike was so strategic about the things that he said when he said them throughout the year. Because it's like, we're preparing for that moment. We're preparing for the playoffs. And they certainly, thankfully, didn't lose Game 7 because of missed free throws, but it didn't help.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're 100% right.
They lost them because of rebounding, which again was something Mike was talking about all off season long. Or all season long, excuse me.
Do you outside of the Clippers game, because I'm gonna make an assumption for everybody. That's everybody's number one. What do you think is the next best game? First game that comes to your mind.
I mean, Orlando comes to mind immediately. Like, they were down 20 in that game and came back. Utah was pretty.
Utah, that might be the one.
Utah, I remember being like, I reacted to that. Like, I don't react a lot, especially in the regular season. I don't react a lot. I reacted to Kevin Huerter's shot. I didn't even react a lot in the Los Angeles game, probably because it was late. But the play I reacted to in that one, which it certainly wasn't inconsequential. They were all consequential. But the Malik step-in 3, I think it was in regulation.
They were the Clippers game?
In the Clippers game, yeah.
He hit one in the second overtime, a 3 to put him up, or put him down by 1.
I think I'm thinking of one that was in. So did the Clippers score on the next possession?
No.
Okay, so I'm thinking the one I'm thinking of was in regulation. Okay. Because that's why I say it felt like it was inconsequential, because that was the first shot where I was like, I think the Kings might do this. And then the Clippers scored, I think, on the next possession. And I don't think the Kings scored on the possession after that. And it was like, okay, this 3 meant nothing. Yeah. This 3 that I legit just got excited for meant nothing. I reacted more to that than the tying one.
The one in that game that got me hyped up was the alley-oop to Fox.
Oh, man.
I said, oh, Kentucky! That's what I've been waiting for 6 years.
And it felt so we're talking about surprises. No one was a bigger proponent or fan of Malik Monk until now. I think I'm a bigger fan than you are. Before the season started.
I don't know, bro.
Well, Malik is mine. Were you surprised? What was he even better?
Yeah, he was probably even better than I expected. I expected him to be lights out, but yeah, I think he was a little bit better than even I expected. He was phenomenal this year. He was a force. He was a guy that at any given night could get you 30.
Yeah.
Any given night could get you 30, man.
And it felt like he really took his cues from De'Aaron and Domas. Like, and I think that was a huge thing in the playoff series that, we saw what he did in game number 1. I think part of that is, hey, Domas is struggling. Yeah. There's some issues here. Okay, we need a second scorer. I'm that guy. He's the ultimate, I'll give you I'll do whatever this team needs. And I think we saw that. We saw it during the season. I think we really saw it in the playoffs.
He was a great teammate. He is.
Couldn't agree
was
more.
A great. That's maybe something that I wasn't prepared. I didn't think he was a bad. I didn't know. I didn't know.
He's a leader.
What you were getting from.
But he's a legit leader.
No, 100% is a leader, and he was a great teammate. You talked about it when it happened. After that second Warriors game of the season. And they lost, and Kevin Huerter got fouled 3 times, and they blew the lead and all this. And he's like, nah, man, we right there, man. We good.
Yeah.
right there, we good.
Yeah.
And they were like, he was a great teammate this year.
He exhibited confidence all the way until the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And you need that.
Yep.
Like, you absolutely need that.
He told us too before. He said one of the interviews, he's like, nah, I'm gonna get Fox dunking this year. You good. Don't worry about it. They asked him, like, is De'Aaron gonna be dunking? He hasn't dunked lately. He's like, don't worry, I'm gonna get Fox dunking this year. He's gonna be dunking.